Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. I'm having so much fun crafting for this Christmas season, so let's get straight to today's crafts. I've been doing a lot of crafting my stash, but I did need to pick up one of these foam cones, and I actually found for this size the best price was at the Dollar Tree, even though it is $1.75. I have a scrap piece, well, a torn piece of sheet music, and I don't want to waste it. It's old, I don't know how old, but it clearly is all tore up. It was from a book, and so I'm going to use this and many other sheet music pieces today, and we're going to start by Mod Podging a piece around the bottom of the cone and the top of the cone. If you don't have any sheet music, you could print some off of the internet. You could also get some scrapbook paper from like Hobby Lobby, and it may not have words on it, but they do have some, well, some of it might. They do have some music paper, and I have used that in previous DIYs, but I am going to upcycle this scraps of sheet music that was falling apart, and I know sometimes people have a hard time at reusing stuff like that, but it was of no use anyway. And then I'm going to take some other sheets and cut up some strips. I'm using my paper cutter just to make this easy, and I'm pretty much just trying to use the pieces that have the music on them, so just kind of trimming off any ends, and I'm going to just kind of mess around with what size pieces I need, and that's going to depend on the look you want. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of the process, and then we'll kind of skip through it because I wanted to just kind of show you the process. I like to do that in my channel to kind of take you along the journey. Now that our Mod Podge pieces on the cone are all done, I am trimming that off, and then we're going to move on. Now I did that just to make sure that we had a good base to start. And we're going to make little loops, kind of like if you were making like a paper chain, but we're not attaching them all to each other. We're going to attach them to our little tree. And you're going to just kind of decide how long you want them to be and how wide you want them to be. And you'll kind of see as we go along. And I am using a finger protector, well, at times. Don't go too crazy on the hot glue. I think I turned mine to the lower setting at some point because hot glue is going to melt your styrofoam. And but it's the quickest glue to use for this kind of thing. But I did use Mod Podge on the top and the bottom because I didn't want any clumpiness from the hot glue. But on this you won't be able to see it because we're going to be doing layers and you'd be covering up any kind of imperfections. I needed something to keep it from rolling. I realized that maybe doing them at the beginning of each piece first without folding up the loops so I could have a slight overlap was better. So I'm trying to explain it, but I'm definitely showing it to you. I didn't want to speed all of this up too much because I know that that can make it harder to see. And so I wanted to start out without it being, too fast so that you could kind of follow along. I saw something like this somewhere. I don't know the source, so I don't have anyone to point to. I didn't see any instructions. I don't know if there was even instructions or not, but I tend to just see an image of something and I'm like, ooh, I like that. I wonder if I can make it. And that's kind of what I did. So here I am going with the second layer. I popped this up on top of a paint bottle just so that I wasn't squishing the bottom layer of paper because that is hanging down slightly over the bottom of the cone. And then I'm going to attempt to do the second layer, kind of alternating, trying to be in between the spaces of the layer below. Are you guys understanding? Are you following? I hope so. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Leanne, and I enjoy sharing budget-friendly DIYs here on this channel. I like to use stuff that's easy to find. I like to show you the process and help you think through it. Some people are naturally creative and just come up with ideas, and some people want to do stuff, but they really need to be walked through it. So I try to do kind of a balance in between on this channel. So here you can see the second layer. I just have all of the long strips, and then I'm going to go back and start folding them up. So I think that that was an easier way to show it, and you can adjust. Once I did it, I was like, okay, actually I want these loops a little bit lower. And so because the top of each piece is going to be covered by the next layer, you can kind of mess with it a little bit. You can make them shorter and then just do more layers. You may have a larger cone. You can buy these foam cones in larger sizes. Dollar Tree only has them in the one size that I found. Anyway, you kind of can get the idea here. You could use another glue, but I would suggest using a quick drying glue if you don't have a hot glue gun. When I was doing this, I was kind of realizing a couple things. I accidentally cut some of the music going in a different direction. So I left it, but I did make sure that the words were not going to be upside down when I flipped up the paper. So if you're using some scrapbook paper, one side's going to be white. You want that on the top so that when you fold up that loop, the sheet music is being seen. And then I did put some paper around the top of the cone here because I realized that since I wasn't going to be doing another layer, I wouldn't be able to cover up any gaps. So I decided to do that just to be sure. I don't know how much you can see it, but I didn't want to have any regrets in the end. I also did not add any type of topper on this tree, but get creative. You might come up with something that you would really like, but I just left it as is. I love using music notes and sheet music in my decor, and I've had other people comment the same thing on previous DIYs. So if you enjoy this, why don't you leave me a music note down below? Showing you there that you may want to put some music on the bottom as well to cover any gaps, but when it's all said and done, you really can't see it. I have these wood rounds from Hobby Lobby. They still have them this year, and they are 50% off, and I actually think they were the same price. I can't remember, I know they just showed if it was at $3.99 or $4.99 or whatever that was, but I remember going into the store recently, and I noticed same price, still have them. And the bark from the outside of these slices was kind of flaking off, and I didn't want it to, so I just went and did a quick coat of Mod Podge around that, just a matte finish Mod Podge, and then I'm going to put a healthy amount of hot glue and apply our tree on top of the wood slice for our trunk. And I decided, I was like, oh, I need to actually do it this way so I can make sure it's centered. And if you wanted to, you could do it double thick if you wanted it taller, but I kind of liked this look. And so you can see, you can't really see the bottom of the tree when it's going to be set down, but I wanted to make sure it was finished accordingly. Let me know what you guys think of this one. I love how this one came out, and it's neutral. You could even use like Christmas music specifically, although I don't think anyone's gonna be looking close enough to notice whether or not the lyrics are, from a Christmas song or not. But I enjoyed this piece. I love using music in my decor. I have a couple of these signs that we're going to use today. These are from the Dollar Tree, from actually my mom's stash that she has passed on to me. She's sharing her stash with me. But you could use any sign. You could use an old picture frame. I've shown you a lot of different ways to do something, I try to show you varieties of ways of doing the same thing in my videos. So if you don't have this exact piece, use your imagination. You could also just use a picture frame and a piece of cardboard or something. So this had a little foam piece on the foam flower on the front. I peeled that off, and I'm going to Mod Podge on a piece of cardstock. It's this like craft paper colored cardstock, and we're going to press this on and smooth it out. Once it's dry, we will trim off the edges. Sometimes you see me take off all of the paper on items. If I'm going to paint it, that's usually the route I take. But because I'm just covering it up with a thicker cardstock, I really didn't have to worry about that. Once again, I like to show you that there are a variety of ways of doing things so that you can just think about using what you already have on hand. You don't always have to go out and buy stuff. And if you don't have the same stores, you can still make something happen. So this is one I did want to paint. I wanted a good but rough coat of white paint. You'll see what I mean in the end. And I just thought that painting over it, because that cardstock is thick, I knew it wasn't going to bubble up like a scrapbook paper. So I chose to do it this way, put that down and then paint over it. And now I've got these stickers. These are also from my mom's craft stash. And I think they might be from Hobby Lobby. But here's some other ones I have that almost looks like the same font. You can see I previously had painted some stickers. You can paint stickers, by the way. I feel like those ones that I just showed you may have been from Dollar Tree at some point. But Hobby Lobby has great options for stickers, and they run sales. So we're going to pull out what we need. And I don't have a vinyl cutting machine. I think they're great. And I've been gifted pieces before, and I use them, and I love them. But if you don't have them, you can use stickers. And I also almost stenciled, but the stencils I had with the words I wanted were not the right size. I have some letter stencils, but honestly, that's work that I wasn't wanting to do. It's easier if it's like all in one stencil. So anyways, I opted for the stickers. Here's my little tip for the stickers. I am using a pair of tweezers. They're not even like pointy sharp tweezers, although I think you could use that. These are, I think they came in like a kit for like cell phone repair or something like that. I don't know. And I saved them. I was like, these are gonna be great for crafting. So I just use those to place them down, and then I gently just tap down the bottom of the sticker just to hold it in place until I get everything down, because then I can pick them up and move them, which you're gonna see I'm going to do. I started from the center of the word and worked my way out, but not all letters are the same width. So it is kind of hard at first to be like, I wanted it to be centered. So as you can see there, I was able to move them. Once they are in place, then I will press them down. Also, based on the letters that I had available to me in capital and lowercase, I decided to do Merry in all uppercase, and then I did Christmas just regular with the C being capitalized. Then I went to my stash and found this scrap of like a burlap. You could use that really wide burlap ribbon if you wanted to. You could also use some scrap fabric. You could use part of an old flannel. I'm saying that out loud because I have some flannels of my husband's that I accidentally shrunk and I was going to get rid of, like donate them, but I might cut them up and use them in my crafts, so stay tuned. You could also use like a scarf from the Dollar Tree, anything you want. And I am just gently gluing this around the edge of the back, trying to keep it looking somewhat nice, even though the back is really not going to be seen. And I'm making myself a little pocket. I don't need a lot of give there because we're just tucking little stems in there. So I didn't need like a wide pocket, but I was trying to be mindful so that it wasn't like, super, super tight. And we're just going to use a little bit of glue, making sure to use either finger protectors, or I had this little silicone spatula from the Dollar Tree because you don't want to burn yourself. Although apparently sometimes I do, because there I'm not using one. And just kind of cutting in and folding the corners. And then we have ourselves a little pocket. And this is when I realized that if I wanted to use the built-in hanger on the back there, that I did this upside down. But it's okay. I don't need it. And I'm also going to show you how to make a little hanger. So now I've got some Christmas picks. I think these may be from the Dollar Tree back in the day. I don't know. But when you get these picks, Hobby Lobby has all of their Christmas stuff right now 50% off. And when you're cutting them up and using bits and pieces, really they go a long way. Now, because I'm using some burlap, I was like, oh, wait a minute. You're going to be able to see through this because it was not a thick burlap. And I didn't really want to waste the rest of my burlap to make another layer. So this is like that rubbery shelf liner. I don't remember why it's in my craft stash, probably because I had scraps of it when I was lining my drawers and didn't want to get rid of it, so I put it in my craft stash. But the underside of it is white. And so I just tucked it in there so that was the piece that was facing out. I didn't glue it or anything. It just created a barrier. And I'm going to cut up a couple of picks. I also used pieces of those garland ties. Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby has them, just because I needed some more little bits of greenery. I didn't hot glue any of my picks in this pocket. I just tucked them in. But if you wanted to, or you felt like you needed to, you can feel free to do that. But it's going to be something that hangs up, and I wasn't really worried about it, didn't think it was going to be an issue. Now you can end it right there. I did decide to add a piece of ribbon. I think this was from the Dollar Tree, around the front, and it was a wired ribbon, so I was able to just like kind of crease it and fold it over to hold it in place while I glued it. And I just put a couple dabs of glue on the front and the back of the piece. You could, of course, leave it plain. You could put probably not some words because there's words up top. You could put a bow, whatever you want. Go into your craft stash or your decor bins. When you pull out your decor bins and you find like all of the little beads and pieces that have fallen off of your decor, save them and craft with them. So I'm just kind of zhuzhing everything, moving things around till it looks right. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. It's a very easy way to help me out, and it helps YouTube know that people are enjoying my videos and makes them more likely to share it with others. Now I'm just going to place that back in the frame, and then because I needed to do a little hanger for the back, I'm using a little paint bottle to hold up my sign so I didn't squish all of my greenery there. And I just took some jute cord and tied a couple of knots, a knot on either end, and hot gluing it. It just gives it a little more to grab onto. I don't know that the knot's necessary. And I'm just doing that in each corner, and that's it. That will be our little hanger. But this is also a great leaner sign, and that's kind of, yeah, all we're gonna do there. This one was a lot of fun, and there's so many different varieties and styles and colors you can do. Any words you want to put on there, any shapes or sizes of this, just using whatever you can find. Let your imagination have fun with it, but let me know what you guys think down below. Do you like it? What would you do differently? I had a lot of fun with this. You could also paint the frame, but I did not. This metal bucket came from Dollar General. I got it on clearance. It was like buy one, get one free, I think. So I think I paid like 50 cents for it. And I was like, I can cover up those words. But I did decide to see if I could take them off. Depending on the item, where it's made, what it's made with, sometimes like rubbing alcohol will work. So I'm trying that and I was like, that's not gonna work. So, again, it wasn't like crucial that I got the words off because you can paint it, you can cover it up. But I was like, might as well try, because I did buy a couple of these and I'll be using them more in the future. And then I have this little razor blade scrapey tool from the Dollar Tree, and that was working, although not taking it like fully off. You could still kind of see the letter behind it. But I decided to give it a try, and I was like, all right, will this work? No, it won't. All right, well, then let's move on. This is some really wide ribbon that I picked up at Dollar General last year at the end of season. So I paid no more than 50 cents, but probably less. I love getting stuff after Christmas clearance at Hobby Lobby and at Dollar General, and really anywhere I can find it, whether it's actual home decor that I'm going to use as is or I'm going to DIY with it. Now, I started by hot gluing the back kind of in a straight line up and down, but really I could have scrunched that up, and you'll see what I mean kind of as we go. So what I'm doing is I wanted to wrap it around, but I wanted it to look loose, but I didn't want it to move because I didn't want the words to show. So I'm just putting a little bit of hot glue every once in a while to hold it in place, but I'm trying to make it look natural. I could have just wrapped it from top to bottom, but because of the cone shape of the pot, it was going to be a little funky. You can also certainly just paint the piece or scrapbook paper it. Whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter. But this is what I was doing, and I love the slouchy kind of messy look at the, that I got at the end of this. And now I want to make a little bit of embellishment. So once again, going into my stash, I have all of these greenery pieces, and I'm just kind of twisting them together. And I have these berry pieces that were off of a pick, and I'm pulling them apart even more because I wanted each of those little berry balls to like be closer together. And they're wired, so I just kind of tore them apart, put them back together in a closer bunch, and twisted them upon themselves. We will ultimately use some hot glue, but I just wanted to kind of show you how you can just take what you have and make it work. This is literally just scraps, just berries that had come off of a pick, and these are like the garland tie scraps. This is a burlap bow from burlap.com. I had worked with them last year, and I don't work with a lot of companies, but I really liked everything I got from them. So I will have that linked for you below. I don't still have like a code or anything like that to my knowledge. I should reach out to them and see if they'll give me an updated code, but I loved that. You can easily make a little bow, but they had several like kind of neutral pieces that I knew would work with a lot of my crafts, and those are the types of things that I like to buy. And so we're just kind of piecing it together before we put on the bucket, because I figured it would be a lot easier to, work with it so that I didn't have the bucket rolling around on me. So we're just gonna tuck that together. I wanted the layered look and like the different textures and dimensions. When I'm creating an embellishment, I feel like it just enhances the piece by having lots of different textures and pieces. I've said that before, I think it makes it look a little bit more high-end or a little more store-bought. Once that's done, we're just gonna add in some hot glue to what I'm making the front of the bucket. Just be careful because the bucket's gonna be hot. And so the hot glue, where the hot glue touches it, so don't put your hand directly on the back side of where the hot glue is. And then I just have some miscellaneous rocks and, those glass beads and stuff for fillers. And I'm just putting that at the bottom to weight it down and to heighten this tree, which is from the Dollar Tree. And I have another scrap piece of burlap, and I'm just tucking that in there. Now, if you wanted to make this a little more permanent, you could use some fluorofoam and glue it But where this is, nobody's gonna be touching it, so I'm not worried about it, but make it to, however you're comfortable doing that. I love how this one came out. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know, your thoughts. All sorts of bottle trees that you could put in here, different colors, ribbons. I love projects like this because it's so easy to personalize it to fit your taste and your style for your home. All right, so we have another one of these signs from the Dollar Tree. Once again, going to take off the foam flower, and then we're going to take the backing out of the frame. Sometimes in these crafts, I only use part of it, and sometimes I use all of it. We're going to use the whole thing once again. Mod Podging this brown cardstock on top. I think that also came from, no, that didn't come from burlap.com, sorry. And then I'm going to trim it down. Once again, I often do the sanding technique, but this is a thicker cardstock, and I just thought it would be better to trim it. I did pick up some moss from Hobby Lobby. It was, I think the tag said $8.99. It wasn't on sale or anything, but this thing of Spanish moss is huge, and I'm going to have it for a very, very long time. And Dollar Tree sometimes has it, sometimes doesn't. It was worth it to me to get the big one. So I have one of those little wooden stems pieces that I picked up from Dollar Tree a long time ago, but you can always go out to your yard or the park and pick up a stick. And I'm just doing this to lace it. We're gonna build ourselves a mossy Christmas tree. I did put the back inside the frame because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going too close to the edge of the frame. You could also do this not framed. Actually, the piece I did in the beginning, you could do the same thing and hang it and not be in a frame. But we're putting it in the frame. I'm gonna take it out of the frame in a little bit because I want to paint that as well. But I was just trying to make sure that it was going to look appropriately positioned in the frame. And I'm just building as I go. The moss is, I'm using enough moss that my fingers aren't getting burnt. And you can see I just built it up until it looked right. Although I do think I'm gonna go back here in a second and add a little bit more to it. Yeah, I was like, okay, we're in it. I have a better idea of where it needs to be. I can finish this up without it being in the frame. So I'm just going to tuck in and add where I need it to. I'm going to trim it. I'm also going to tap off any loose pieces. Now, every piece is not heavily glued in, so it still may have a little bit of shedding, but you're probably not walking around your house shaking it, so it'll be fine. But I am gonna trim it and kind of tap it off to get off a lot of the excess so that it's just not a messy decor piece. If you're new here, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel, or maybe you're not new and you've just been watching my videos and YouTube's been showing them to you, but subscribing will help ensure that YouTube keeps showing you my videos. So go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you don't see my videos pop up, I post weekly, so if you feel like you're missing something, make sure to check out my channel. And then I hot glued that stem or the trunk, and then I added a little bit more of moss because the stems stuck up higher than the tree and I just thought it looked weird. And then I went into my stash. I have a bunch of wooden stars. Some are from Hobby Lobby. I think all of these might be from Hobby Lobby from like the year of 4th of July time, although I think they probably have them all the time. At least some of them, maybe not that particular package. I had some white paint left in this paintbrush, and so I am just gonna give this kind of a rough coat. This star, just a little rough coat of white, and then we will go back and distress it a little bit later, but I just didn't want it to be on the natural color. And then I have, this is called like table scatter, I think, from Hobby Lobby, and $8.99 I think is what that says. Sorry, my vision's not great and I'm even wearing glasses. But go down the Christmas kitchen aisle, and they've got like napkin rings and table scatter and all sorts of stuff. I love finding things that are not just in the craft section to craft with. And this bag is gonna go so far, and it's 50% off, and I'm just cutting off pieces and just gluing clumps of these red berries onto our moss tree. When you cut them up, it's okay. It's gonna reveal like the white styrofoam pieces, but that's the part that's going down, and you'll never see it. So I love this. I bought this a year or two ago, this table scatter, and when you're just using a little bunch or two, like literally that could last you for years. And then we're going to glue our little wood star. And then it was kind of like wanting to fall back because there wasn't enough, like I was putting it at the top of the tree, so there wasn't enough substance. So I just tucked in a little bit more moss behind the star. And now for the frame. Now this is not a heavy duty wood frame. So I'm giving it a very light sanding because it's a little bit plasticky finish and I wanted my paint to just stick to it well, but I'm being very gentle because these aren't like amazing frames from the Dollar Tree. I mean, they're not like about to fall apart, but I wouldn't, put too much pressure on them. And then I'm gonna go in with some Truffle by Waverly, and I'm doing I think I said this earlier in the video on another project, like a good messy coat. You'll kind of see what I mean at the end. I'm not having like full coverage. I'm letting some of that like wood color show through, but that's gonna be totally up to you and what you wanna do. So I'm gonna give this a good coat, and I did not paint the back. Normally I like to finish my projects. I guess I just didn't think of it this time, but if you're just doing it for your home and you know that nobody's gonna see the back, then don't worry about it. If you're gonna sell it or you think there's a chance that someone might see it, or you just really wanna make sure you finish it, then go ahead and paint the back part of that frame. If you made it this far in my video, I would love it if you would leave me a comment down below. Now, maybe you left a emoji that I already mentioned earlier, but right now I'm gonna ask for the Christmas tree emoji. I love to just have that interaction, see who's still here, and it also helps out my channel. Now I'm going in with just a little bit of that truffle paint around our star, just kind of highlighting the edges and a little bit across it, just to help it stand out, kind of highlighting the edges there, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about there. So we're gonna pop our sign back in. I'm gonna use this as a leaning sign, but there is that built-in hanger on the back, or you can make your own with a little bit of jute, however you wanna do that. Let me know what you guys think about this one down below. I really love how it came out. It's kind of rustic and neutral, but I put in the pops of red. Of course, you can do it all different ways. You could even use like that green mossy stuff. Have fun with it. Let me know what you guys think of this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, once again, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and leave me a comment down below. I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.